first ever Drift Pro Championship event, the only MS UK sanctioned drifting event that we have here in the UK. That was round one. You guys, everyone here has just witnessed history. This is the first ever that we've had. Brands Hatch, round one. What a great event. And of course, the action doesn't stop here. We are about to hand over to the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. That is about to get underway. Andy, I can see you're sat down in your chair. Take it away for us.
Yeah, sat in my chair for now, but if this race is anything like some of the other racing we've had this weekend, I might not be in the chair for long. It's very much kept me on the edge of my seat, and we're hoping that this will be a fitting finale to our racing action. It's been great to bring racing to these time attack events as well. Tunafest South here, just to give you something a little bit different, welcome you all into myself and Paul O'Neill's world, and yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed the racing action that we've provided for you so far. This final race of the day is for the Milltek Sport Civic Cup, their third race of the weekend. And yeah, I think on the whole this weekend, Paul, we've had some really good action.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? It's how weird is that? I know people at home watching the stream won't have heard you being handed over to our goddammit American colleague out there. You were on the straightaway here at Brands Hatch, but everyone else can hear us. But they're all going home now anyway. Yeah, no, we've had a good weekend, haven't we? It's been great to be involved. It's been some. I mean, that race was unreal, wasn't it? The last round that we watched, the Touring Car Trophy was unreal, but. The Milltek Sport Civic Cup is coming up next, and it is pretty well anticipated. And there's a few stories already coming from that last race that they had. But for me, they've been exceptional, because I've not actually seen that much of that championship until today and a bit on the stream yesterday. And even the people who do the graphics have spelled my name right. What a great day!
And mine as well, which is never guaranteed. So there's sometimes a rogue K or something ends up in there. So. Good stuff. It's all coming together nicely here. Then we've had two races so far this weekend. Yesterday's race was won by Matt Luff. He led every lap from pole position. Race 2, though, was a partially reversed grid. The top 10 finishers from race 1 were reversed, and it was Ben Sharp who completed this comeback from the back of the grid in race 1 to winning race 2, and we now look forward to this third race, which again is based, the grid is based partially upon qualifying and the second fastest lap time. So Matt Luff, race 1 winner, is on pole with Jamie Tonks alongside. Tonks was a non-finisher earlier on. Alistair Camp was also a non-finisher in race 2 after a dramatic final few minutes for him, and George Alt Williams up there on row number 2. There are so many drivers though towards the pointy end of the grid that have the potential to do really well, and we're coming from deeper in the field as well. Bradley Lane, 11th, showed good pace in race 2 before unfortunately retiring with an off. And of course, Ben Sharp coming from 18th on the grid in this one, which is the back of the Cup class field. There is a Cup class and a production class. The production cars are a little bit slower, but therefore a little bit cheaper to run. Much closer to a production level Honda Civic, obviously, are just in front of those cars. In production, it's Mervyn Beckett that has the pole position, but Mervyn hasn't won a race yet this weekend in production. He got himself second place yesterday, and then was off the podium in this morning's, or this afternoon's second race of the weekend. But Beckett is on the class pole alongside Peter Dell, with whom he had a brilliant battle yesterday for the production class victory. Contact was made going into Druids, we believe, though. Peter went off the track, and Mervyn lost the victory as a result, not through a penalty, but just because of time lost with the contact. So it's Alfie Threlfall, who is a double winner in production. He starts 4th on the grid in that class in car number 66. So many stories. We spent a lot of time, Paul, down in the paddock as well, chatting to some of the drivers. It's not just a great series as far as the racing product, but a really nice group of people to be working with.
Yeah, they really are, aren't they? And, you know, like I've spoken about on the live stream earlier on, you know, the WhatsApp group that all the drivers have, the teams, the organisers, Maximum Motorsport, and also ourselves are in there. There's so much banter, and I've never known a series where someone's bent a steering wheel, or someone's missing a brake pad, or someone's missing a cog. They're all running round helping each other out, and that is what, for me, makes a fantastic championship. And you know, they want to win, but they're very respectful to each other, and they have a right old crack as well. So it's really good to be involved in this championship.
Yeah, it's a club racing mentality, and I guess in a way, this is still a club championship, but it operates just on that slightly higher level. The preparation of the cars, the way they're all turned out, the way the championship is run, and the quality of the product on track. It's just that little step above, but it hasn't lost that real friendly club atmosphere, which I think is really important. And, you know, when you sit at home and watch racing, you don't necessarily get to experience that. And it's one of the great pleasures of being a commentator, working in motorsport at the level that we do, that we really get to meet these people, get to know them, and see how they interact with each other off the track as well. So yeah, been great fun this weekend, and I'm sure they're going to put on a show here in this final race. Paul, we're also tasked by the end of this race to come up with a couple of drivers of the weekend, one in the Cup class and one in the production class. Production's still wide open, but we've got our eye on a couple of drivers in Cup class, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had a little word with each other, haven't we? So we're going to come up with a driver of the day, like you say, for both the classes. And yeah, it just depends on what those certain drivers do in this race, so they better be good, and you better be listening as well, lads, because we're watching.
And that's why we're not telling you who we've chosen yet, because we wouldn't want that to interfere with their preparation for this final race of the weekend. It's not the longest of championships, this, by the way. This is the second event of the season. They're actually going to Anglesey, which I believe is the Time Attack TCT event. They're back at Brands Hatch again later on in the season, then it all finishes at Snetterton in, I think, October later on this year. So, having lost a race at Cadwell Park earlier in the season, we're inching towards that halfway point already in the championship, and that means that these points are more significant. Matt Luff has the championship lead now after his after his victory in fourth place in the earlier race. But Matt will be keen now to try and take advantage of another pole position to do what he did yesterday, Paul. Get into turn one first, build a gap, manage the race, coast home to victory.
Yeah, that's what you'd want, wouldn't it? We're getting very arty here. What's going on with this? This is a nice shot, isn't it? I wouldn't want to be here when they all set off. Look at that one. Who's in P4 there? Whoever it is, they're angled at us, and they'd never pass an MOT with them headlights, would they? To be fair, but like you say, no, it's all about getting off the line cleanly and just making sure you can stroke it home and get some points. But all these cars in the two classes are obviously so closely matched, that's why you never see someone just clear off and win a race. So it's great for these guys just to get out there and have a dry race. We were supposed to be getting hammered with rain this afternoon. I looked at it and it was saying 2 o'clock, then it went to 3, 4, 5, and it's gone now. So very humid here at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit. But no, this will be a good old race, and you can see people are already mad for it, aren't they? So the guys before us have put a lot of rubber down, so it's going to be really, really good to watch.
Let's have a look then, shall we, at how the grid's going to line up. Matt Luff is on pole position from Jamie Tonks with Alistair Camp. Both he and Tonks need some points out of this race after their non-finishes in race 2. George Alp Williams is on the second row with Jamie Tonks. Then it's Dan Thackeray and Phil Wright, who was very exciting to watch, well, in both races really, but certainly yesterday's when the car was very, very oversteery. Dave Bucke was on the podium in race 2. He starts 7th this time with Morgan Bailey alongside him. Ryan Bensley and Rob Butler 10th on the grid, but he's been plagued with overheating issues all weekend long. Bradley Lane's car had some damage after the previous race. I think they've got it fixed though. He's there on the 6th row alongside Ross Darlington, who also had some damage to the rear of his car. Chris Mullen and Martin Dalzell are next to. I believe I was calling Ryan throughout the first race. It's definitely Martin Dalzell, 14th on the grid for him, ahead of Paul McHugh and Simon Waite. Then Ben Mills was a race after an incident out on track. He is 17th with Ben Sharp at the back of the Cup class, but likely to move forward. Then you've got the production runners, Mervyn Beckett on the production pole and Peter Dell alongside him. The purple numbers on our live stream graphics denoting a production class car. Mark Hughes and Alfie Threlfall, double production winner so far this weekend, is 4th on the grid. His brother Harry, who joined him on the podium, 2nd place in the previous race, is next alongside Simon Welch with Rhys Lewis and Matthew Stenning towards the back. Nick Charlier was right at the back of the field, and there was, I noticed a message a little while ago coming through saying that car 97 is out, unfortunately, so Nick Charlier will be a non-starter after issues in the previous race. Right then, Paul, putting you on the spot, pick a winner.
A Honda Civic.
Oh, going out on a limb there, aren't you? What colour's it going to be? Let's try and...
There's a lot of grey ones out there, isn't there? Do you know what? I am going to go for... I think Camp's got a chance here,
Yeah?
Yeah. I think he's got a chance. He's on the decent side of the grid, well, we've got the proper quick boys up the front, haven't we? This is going to be really difficult to predict here, but yeah, I'm going to stick my money on the Camp.
Yes, well, Alistair would be happy to hear that. He's been quick this weekend, but he did get a bit flustered in that battle with Dave Buki earlier on. He made a move on Dave for third and Paddock in race 2, made a mistake, went into the gravel, and then we think that damaged something on the left rear corner. And when he arrived at Clearways at the end of that lap, the car spat him out into the gravel. So a non-finish for the man that was leading the championship going into this weekend. In fact, going into the Matt Luff has moved ahead of him now by 20 points. So and a few other drivers in between them as well. There went Ben Sharp, the white and blue car with the yellow wheels. Behind him, the yellow number 32 is Mervyn Beckett, our production class pole sitter, but he started from pole yesterday in race 1 and only ended up second after that incident with Peter Dell, who should be lining up alongside him, although actually I can't see Peter Dell there. Do we have a gap on the grid? Yeah, we do. So Peter Dell, unfortunately, might be a non-starter from the front row of the production grid. We'll try and see if he gets into the race, perhaps from the pit lane or something. But the field is set then for our final race of the weekend. 15 minutes of racing in round number 4 of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Red lights go on, they go out now. Away we go from pole position. Matt Luff gets quite a bit of wheel spin. Alistair Camp is away well, then goes up the inside of him. Jamie Tonks around the outside will get the lead. Camp goes second, level with George Williams, and Matt Luff makes his first mistake of the weekend, doesn't get off the line well. He is down to about 8th place going through the first corner, and he's sideways, he's losing places, hand over fist. Matt Luff must have a problem. What a shame for the race 1 winner, the championship leader. What is it about being championship leader this weekend? It seems to be a bit of a bad luck charm.
Yeah, nobody wants to win the championship, did he, by the looks of it? Looked like maybe he was stuck in gear or just couldn't get a gear, that maybe the car went very neutral because it was in neutral, and then it had an oversteer and he just couldn't get it in gear, so he did lose a lot of places. But look at this, they are pinned straight away.
So Tongs leads, Camp second, Al Williams third, and Morgan Bailey is up to 4th from 8th on the grid. That's Brad Lane getting stuck in. I told you Phil Wright's car is oversteer. It was sideways there through the final corner. The leaders though come out of Clark Curve across the start finish line, absolutely nose to tail between the top 3. A gap back to Bailey, then the first side-by-side battle is for 7th. Brad Lane on the inside of Phil Wright, and that looks as though it's Chris Mullen maybe in the white, grey and yellow car behind them. Into the pit lane, we've got a couple coming, sideways for Brad Lane. Oh, what a save, and how did the rest of them miss him?
I cannot tell you how close Lane was then to actually getting clobbered. It was so close. There was a car in the rear of him, but it didn't look like it actually touched him. It was like you couldn't get a fag paper between the two of them. Unbelievable.
Wow, okay. In production, by the way, Alfie Threll falls back in the lead from 4th on the grid. Mervyn Beckett second, and Simon Welch is 3rd. Simon, I don't think, has had a podium yet in that category on his debut season in Civic racing. So some big stories there coming out of the production class. Ben Sharp moving up ahead of Ben Mills. Where's Sharpie up to? Well, he was 13th on the previous lap. I think he's still there, actually, sandwiched between Ryan Bensley and Ben Mills. Bensley is the red and white car just ahead, and Sharp actually with a bit of damage to the back of the car. He was right in amongst that little traffic jam that formed after Brad Lane's little moment.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, wasn't there, there? And I don't think there's been massive contact, but the odd rub here and there as bumpers were flailing as they went through the shot. But Tonks getting on with it, and yeah, he's now half a second in the lead, isn't he, from Camp?
Yes, and he was about 3/10 quicker on the previous lap as well, so he did start to stretch that margin. Morgan Bailey there under pressure from Dan Thackeray and Dave Buki as they race down the Cooper Straight. Tell you what, Camp is quicker on this lap, isn't he? Yeah, 2/10 quicker in the first sector than Jamie Tonks, so he's right back with the leader now. Game on at the head of the field. Your bet for an Alistair Camp victory might just come true yet. Certainly helped by the fact that Matt Luff is out of the race, so I'm afraid, well, into the pit lane at least, went Rob Butler. He's back on track now, but those overheating issues look as though they've reared their head again. 2 laps in the book then. Jamie Tonks leads in the Fast Star liveried car by just under 3/10 now from Camp, with George Williams very much going with them this time. Further back in the field, Ryan Bensley defending here from Ben Sharp, the race 2 winner. Goes to show the significance of track position, this, doesn't it, Paul? Because Ben Sharp in race 2 was pretty much unstoppable, and now he's stuck in the pack.
Oh, yes, and I was just looking back out the window there, and the lead nearly changed going down to Graham Hill Bend as we go back with these guys, and he's got an overlap here. Camp has the overlap. Tonk is going to have to let him through.
Oh, I'm surprised Tonks didn't try and close that door a bit more robustly. Camp has gone through on the inside though. Yes, Alistair Camp then gets the lead away, and Jamie Tonks now needs to try and get back ahead of him. Don't celebrate just yet, Paul, because Tonks is coming back at him now out of Clark Curve, and of course you've got George Al Williams there with them as well. If the two of them come together, less than a car length in it. Camp from Tonks, and Jamie Tonks is going to try and fight back as soon as he can here, surely.
Yeah, that was all set up, wasn't it? On the way to clearways. Yeah, so not a nice sight to see, is it? Look, a nightmare there. But yeah, Camp is now having to defend, and I tell you what, he's inside him, and he could lose another place here. Al Williams is trying to get down the inside. That won't get done because he's on the wrong side now as they go down to Graham Hill Bend.
Much better showing this from George, though, than we saw from him yesterday, where by his own admission he made a few mistakes, and now they've tweaked the setup. He's driving it better, and look, he's keeping with the leaders as he did in the torrential rain at Cadwell Park last time out. There's the fight for third. Morgan Bailey, Dan Thackeray and Dave Buki, fourth, I should say, fourth, fifth and sixth. Buki, again, we know he's quicker than these two in theory. He was ahead of certainly Morgan Bailey in the previous race, but when the cars are as even as this and they're as well policed as they are in this championship, so no one's got a big advantage, it's not the work of a moment to move your way through the order.
No, exactly. It's very difficult, especially Brands Hatch Indy as well. You know, you're just relying on forward momentum to get past people, as it looks real close, doesn't it, up the front?
Yeah, Jamie Tonks had a run there on Camp, didn't he? Look into Druids. Camp closed the door, but that means he's had to go into the right-hander defensively. I'm a little surprised that Camp hasn't made hay here and pulled away. Again, Jamie Tonks is a quick driver, but Alistair is a bit more experienced and certainly was quicker than Tonks in yesterday's race. But drivers will tweak their setup, won't they, from one race to the other? So they'll have learned from the two previous races, and it looks like Tonks is...
Groups battling hard, isn't it? One for the lead, and then we've got a battle for fourth place as well. So two groups of three as running wide. I just seen Dan Thackeray was looking like, oh, I tell you what, he is a brave man cutting across the front there. I never was brave enough to do that.
Yes, I've seen a few people end up in the pit wall from doing that, but Dave Buki left him the space. He wasn't quite fully alongside enough in the end to really force the issue. Some changing behind, by the way. Ben Sharp has got past Dalzell now. I'll get his name right this time. Martin Dalzell into 8th place. Dalzell 9th then, and also Ben Mills ahead of Ross Darlington. So some changing towards the back of the top 10. This lead gap, Paul, is ebbing and flowing by the sector. In the first sector, Tonks is better than Camp, I think. It's all at clearways that Camp seems to be able to get the gap back out. It was half hectare, he's 2/10 slower.
Yeah, they're definitely to and fro, aren't they? And what it must have been with these cars, and I'll have to speak to the drivers a bit more. What? Oh, these guys don't care, do they? Fair play. They'll chop across the front of anyone. They don't really care, do they? They just get on with it. Fair play. Loads of respect here. This is great.
Brad Lane there trying to fight his way back through this little group in the black and red number 40 car, side by side with car number 9. That's Paul McHugh. At the front of the group, Ross Darlington and Martin Dalzell were together, and also trying to go around the outside is Mullen, who has dropped out of the top 10, having been inside a bit earlier on. Ryan Bensley is in this scrap as well. A couple of the cars looking a little bit worse for wear now at this late stage of the weekend. I mean, Dalzell's car was rattling down the barriers, wasn't it, only a couple of hours ago at the end of race 2. Team have done a good job to get that car back out.
And it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. There's some top teams in this championship trying to get the job done, and a lot of people who are driving and spannering, as well as we know Dave Buki does. So a lot of the other guys doing the same, but it's great to see, isn't it? Real good battles, and oh, this is just proper close quarter stuff, this.
Yeah, this is what proper racing looks like, isn't it? Martin Dalzell busy trying to defend here. At the inside, there's a move being made at the back of that group. That's Ryan Bensley losing out to Paul McHugh, I think, having already been passed by Bradley Lane earlier on in the lap, so not quite working out well for Bensley here. Drops down another position. The good news is there's no one else behind him now to try and put him under threat into Paddock Hill Bend. Halfway through the race then, 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go. The lead gap is 0.4 of a second, but Alistair Camp responding to Jamie Tonks' pace, actually set the fastest lap on the previous lap of 54.1, and George Al Williams now a bit closer to Tonks than Tonks is to the lead. Chris Mullen round the outside of Bradley Lane, who's going to show him the edge of the road on the exit of Druids. This is for 12th position then, as Paul, significantly, a 5-second penalty for Jamie Tonks in second place for not respecting track limits. We're only halfway through the race, Paul, so he's racked those track limits warnings up.
Yeah, I've not really seen him running. Well, I mean, it's a pressure pad situation, so, you know, you run wide, it's track limits, full stop. But I am very surprised, because I've never seen anything on the TV where he was running wide. It's usually Graham Hill Bend over the pressure pad, you get a picture, and yeah, you can't get away from it. It's like a speed camera. So very interesting. He's done that 3 times then, so he's got a 5-second penalty.
Ooh.
Oh, not good.
Mark Hughes, didn't we cut to him off the road at this part of the circuit in the previous race? I think he's made the barriers this time, maybe.
Might be a replay.
Clearways, yes, that's what he'll claim, I'm sure. No, he's on the other side of the track this time. He went off to the left before, the right this time. There is George Alt Williams. So Alt Williams is now essentially second in this race because he's within 5 seconds of Jamie Tonks, who will have this 5 seconds added on to his race time at the end. For Alt Williams now, this is quite a frustrating situation. He will almost wish that Tonks would just move over now, because although Tonks has a penalty and is behind George on corrected times, he's still physically there, in his way, getting between Williams and Camp.
Yeah, it's your worst nightmare when there's somebody, and the proper drivers who are, you know, switched on will know that the car in front has a penalty, because you always look at, you know, the pit board and you'll see a number and it'll just say number 4. You know, 5-second penalty or whatever on the board, so you can race accordingly. But if you want to win this race, you've got to get past him on the road full stop. So yeah, a bit of a shame and a bit of a quandary for Alt Williams.
Yes, we've had some changes here, by the way. Morgan Bailey is still 4th, but Dave Buki is now 5th, and he's brought. Both of them have got past Dan Thackeray in the last couple of laps, so that is just outside the podium places, obviously. But Dave Buki wants to get on with this because, critically, these 4 drivers are all more than 5 seconds behind Jamie Tonks. So if Buki could break through and get within 5 seconds of Tonks, that's another place to be gained. But Morgan Bailey hasn't been easy to pass so far, has he?
And it does make me laugh when I'm watching this. It's just like a load of good friends having a good old scrap. What a move! Is he sideways or is that the drone? I think he was sideways, but he... Oh, mate, that was a move. That was fair play. Proper pinned it. But he's run wide, isn't he, into Druids? Has he got the place still?
Oh, he's up the inside. It's always safe to assume that if it's Phil Wright, he's probably sideways, and he definitely was there into paddock. Rear wheel there, bobbing above the ground as he tries to get the thing stopped. Nice move that then for the, that was, what, 4th place, 5th place that's just changed hands. In the production class, by the way, Mervyn Beckett and Alfie Threlfall are nose to tail somewhere out on track. They are, I think, going through Druids now, possibly. Worth checking in with that battle, I reckon. As close as it is in the Cup class, production proving to be just as close as always. The leaders flash through. You can see at the top of your screen how close the overall top 3 are. Bit of lap traffic now. That's Mark Hughes recovering after his latest off-track excursion. Down the hill comes Alfie Threlfall. Now, Alfie... Oh dear, Simon Welch was getting involved there. Oh, no, that was a change for 3rd. Excuse me, that's the other Threlfall. That's Harry Threlfall ahead of Simon Welch now for 3rd in production.
They're having a right old go at it, aren't they? Really having a go at it. I love, do you know what, I really like the production class. The cars look really, really switched on, look a bit more difficult to drive just because you have to be, just have a bit more finesse because they don't have that maximum power situation. But back to the front, and it looks like these guys are really, really starting to close back up. And I say, I know the penalty still exists for Tonks, as you can see our back marker getting out of the way. Tonks is still hanging on to 2nd place on the road.
Yes, he is, and keeps again closing in on Camp once. Martin Dalzell, who comes out of Clearways, trying to defend still here from... neither of these cars are in showroom condition, are they? That's Chris Mullen, I think, behind, trying to make the move into Paddock Hill Bend. And Dalzell's going to lose that place around the outside, is he? No, on the brakes, Dalzell fights back. I'm not sure that car is tracking quite right somehow. It seems down on straight line speed and it's not handling brilliant the hill into Druids Corner. They actually are now joined by the number 9 car of Paul McHugh and Ryan Bensley still behind them. These 4 have been together since the start of the race.
Yeah, they really have. Ryan Bensley's really dropped down the order, really struggling with that car setup this weekend. I think he started 9th and he's dropped down to 15th, so a bit of work to do for Bensley, just on the back of that pack there with his headlights ablaze. But like you say, there's a few bumpers that look a bit loose.
Yeah, 1 or 2. This is the fight for the production class lead then, with Alfie Threlfall and Mervyn Beckett nose to tail then. Threlfall, the black number 66, going for a hat-trick of wins, and even in the production class, Paul, that would be quite an achievement, especially from 4th on the grid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, Alfie was looking pretty unflustered when I interviewed him after the first race of the day today, and wasn't even sweating. So yeah, I think that was a that was a bit of a shootout to the competitors. He's against. Is this guy fully lit? He's definitely on it.
more track limits penalties for another front runner. Morgan Bailey in 4th place now being given a 5-second penalty. That will drop him behind Phil Wright, Dave Bookie, Dan Thackeray, and probably Ben Sharp and Ben Mills as well. So lots of places about to be lost, I'm afraid, for Morgan Bailey in the red and white number 26. On screens we're seeing the production battle coming down into Graham Hill Bend, and it is the 66 of Threlfall of the Alfie variety, that is, keeping Mervyn Beckett at bay, and that gap staying fairly static for the time being. Then up through Surtees they go. Race leaders have just gone on to their 16th lap. We are running out of time, actually. We're going to have time for probably one more lap after this. There is George Alt Williams ahead of Jamie Tonks. So Alt Williams was already second on corrected times, but the young Welshman has now got himself into P2. He's given himself, Paul, one lap to try and do something to get about Ali Camp, who was held up there in some traffic.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? And they're back on him now, aren't they? They can see the resonance through the dampers. If you just put a bit too much steering lock at clearways into the car, it really does start that rear bouncing off. Headlights flashing. Please get out of my way. These back markers causing a few issues to these front runners. So Camp flashing away, just trying to get past these guys in front.
Alt Williams looks good through paddock though, actually. Carried a bit more mid-corner speed, runs right out into the dirt coming out of the corner. Simon Welch is the next car to go a lap down. He stays well out of the way. Alt Williams really sent it into Druids. I think he saw that was his one chance to get onto the tail of Alistair Camp, because it should be fairly clear sailing now to the flag. There is one more slower car up the road, but I'm not sure if they're going to catch them. And actually, Jamie Tonks coming back at Alt Williams now, looking to the inside into Surtees. This is for 2nd place on the road, but if Alt Williams knows about the penalty coming for Tonks, he'd do well to let him go here. He doesn't, he hangs on to it just about, and Jamie Tonks will stay in 3rd on the road for now. That's going to be a bit of a drag race to the line, but for Alistair Camp, it's going to be the perfect way to bounce back after the non-finish in race number 2. Camp is going to take his first victory of the weekend. It's side by side for 2nd, but Alistair Camp wins for the 2nd time this season. Jamie Tonks on the line pips George Alt Williams to 2nd place on the road by 41 thousandths of a second, but the 5-second time penalty will reverse those positions anyway. Morgan Bailey, likewise in 4th place, has a time penalty to be added on. If we add 5 seconds onto his race time, he drops down to 9th place, I reckon, so Phil Wright should inherit 4th place ahead of Dave Bookie and Dan Thackeray. Right, what about production then? Alfie Threlfall and Mervyn Beckett are, I think, coming out of the final corner now, and it's going to be Threlfall there, you can see, with a decent margin. Actually, Threlfall led pretty much every lap of that race from 4th on the grid, got himself into the class lead pretty quickly, and I tell you what, if Alfie keeps this up, he is going to be a championship contender. In fact, that result might well put him in the championship lead now for the production category. Mervyn Beckett 2nd, and Harry Threlfall again will join his brother on the podium. Well, that was another cracking Milltek Sport Civic Cup race, with Alistair Camp taking his 2nd victory of the year, becoming the first repeat winner in 2021, and that will close him in. Well, of course, with Luff non-finishing that one, it's actually honours even now, isn't it? Because Luff took 25 points out of Camp in the previous race, but Camp takes those 25 points back again in race number 3. Jamie Tonks also has had a non-finish and a 2nd place today. So who's going to be the big winner? Well, I think actually that Alistair Camp's going to get away with this. He might even be back in the championship lead. We'll try and get some official notification of that if we can fairly shortly. For now, though, let's take a look at the results provisionally at the end of our 3rd and final Milltek Sport Civic Cup race of the day. Alistair Camp wins from Jamie Tonks 2nd, just on the line, but George Alt Williams will move ahead of him with this 5-second penalty. Tonks should drop down to 3rd. The same is then true of Morgan Bailey, 4th on the road, 9th on corrected times, because Phil Wright, Dave Bookie, Dan Thackeray, Ben Sharp and Ben Mills will all jump ahead of him. Ross Darlington stays 10th. 11th then is Brad Lane. 12th for the number 28 of Chris Mullen. 13th position will be Paul McHugh. Ryan Bensley 14th, and 15th and last in the Cup class will be Simon Waite. Then in production, Alfie Threlfall takes the victory for Mervyn Beckett. Harry Threlfall 2nd, Simon Welch Harry Threlfall 3rd, Simon Welch 4th. 5th position in class goes to Rhys Lewis, with Mark Hughes and the 116 of Matthew Stenning rounding out the finishers. Significantly though, Matt Luff was a non-finisher after that issue at the start of the race. We also lost Rob Butler, unfortunately. Came in and out of the pit lane a few times, but did have a retirement in the end. The same true of Martin Dalzell. Alistair Camp, though, is a race winner for the 2nd time this season, and he is down in the pit lane with Paul O'Neill.
Alistair Camp, mate, that's good for the championship, but the first double race winner of the year, top man.
Yeah, no, brilliant, but like I say, man, I owe it to the most of my old man, so happy Father's Day. And like you say, hope you've done you proud today. Sorry about the last race, but we went again and I said I'd give it you a pole.
Andy McEwen said to me, who's your money on if you had to bet? I was like, Alistair Camp. And he was like, okay, good luck with that. Because you starting P4, but you come through the field and got the job done. And did you know anything about the penalty behind you?
I seen it come up on the board, and then obviously when you're doing that kind of speed, you're trying to think what number's that. And then when I looked in the mirror, seeing Tonks behind me, number 4, I thought, well, that's obviously who that is then. And I thought, well, it gives us a bit of breathing space. Then I seen George come through, and I thought, you got to get your head down and get on with it. But you're working the tyres to the maximum, as like you picked up yourself in the last race, the rear end. I like the car to be loose, but the last race was a little bit too loose, and that's why I went sketchy. And then it started to do it again at the later part of the stage. So we have to look after it as much as we can, but it's so demanding around here.
And heart in mouth situation was it? Because Paddock Hill Bend and all those other places where you can really rotate the car, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be fair, Brands isn't my strongest track, so I don't like his place, but we do what we can when we're here, so.
Top man. Well, listen, you've had a good old day. That puts you right up there in the championship, so really spot on.
Thank you very much. Cheers, mate.
No worries. Super stuff. Right, here he is. Hello, mate. Excellent work again.
Thank you.
What a cracking weekend you've had.
Yeah, such a good weekend. It couldn't have gone any better.
What's made the difference for you? Is it just the car being amazing, or you being on top form, or both?
I think a bit of both. Like, my first race ever was Cadwell, and so yeah, just I'm new to it. Beginner's luck maybe, but no. I had a really good start and got in the lead as early as possible, and then just try to hold it with Merv close up behind me.
And is it your sights firmly set on the championship now? Yeah.
Yeah. No, looks like I've got quite a few points. So yeah, let's see what the rest of the championship does.
Oh, man. Is your brother not jealous of you winning all the time?
I'm sure he's a little bit. Yeah.
Spot on. Listen, well done. It's been a cracking weekend. Awesome. Back to you, Andy, in the comms box.
Thank you very much, Paul O'Neill. Stellar work, as always, down there in the pit lane and up here in the comms box with me. Civic Cup action is done, racing action is done, in fact, today here at Brands Hatch, but there's still plenty more track action to come, and Alexi is here to tell you all about it.
Thanks, Eddie. Well, everybody, this is the last event of the day. This is our time attack final. Round 3 at Brands Hatch